Let's go to Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, with us every Thursday at this time. Jeff, what's up?
Hey, good to be here.
Good to have you. I was talking before you came on, just a basic strategy question of the playoffs starting. I know a lot of leagues have the playoffs, first round of the playoffs start on Sunday. Just a basic strategy question for you, Jeff. Are you better off going with, a boom or bust type guy, or is it kind of better just to go with an old faithful, old reliable type of player?
It really depends on how your entire lineup looks. If you think you're not going to be favored, then I go for the boom-bust kind of guy because you're going to need that upside to win, and especially in a playoff where it's just a one-game head-to-head matchup. But if you're favored, I get more conservative.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with tonight's game. Arizona obviously welcoming Minnesota. To me, David Johnson looks like one of those potential boom guys because this Vikings defense is banged up, and I mean really, really good players. No Linval Joseph, no Anthony Barr, no Harrison Smith, and they're traveling across a pretty significant part of the country on a short week. Do you see him as a guy who could possibly be that boom type?
Yeah, I have him as a must-play this week. I mean, Kerwin Williams might contribute a little bit, or Carson Palmer may throw a little more. But again, you point out the matchup. Minnesota's missing their starting linebackers, all of them. So David Johnson is a must-play for me. We have him as top 3 running back this week.
How about some quarterbacks here, John? I know. I mean, one's playing the Eagles here, Tyrod Taylor. I know he's a must-start this week. But how about a guy like Blake Bortles? He had a huge week last week, over, I think, 5 touchdowns in that game. How about some of your quarterbacks here on Sunday, Jeff?
Well, I think Bortles is pretty good. He's a borderline quarterback one against the Colts. They were torn apart by Pittsburgh, but he's really a matchup guy. Tennessee was terrible in secondary. I think one of the top quarterbacks I have that most people may not be on is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Tennessee's pretty good against the run, but they're terrible against the pass. I see him into Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall all day long.
And how about the running backs, Jeff? You mentioned David Johnson. I know Thomas Rawls is a guy people will turn to. I know a lot of people got him off the waiver wire. I just picked up Sean Drone. That guy has 78 touches in his last 4 games with the 49ers. How about some of the running backs here on Sunday, Jeff?
I do like Drone against Cleveland. I think that's a good matchup. Rawls, the Ravens are up and down against running backs, but I think the game script really leans well towards Rawls. I think LaShawn McCoy with you've got Carlos Williams being out. You've got the narrative street there with him going against his old team and against Chip Kelly. I think McCoy's a top 5 running back too. And I also like Doug Martin against the Saints. I think Doug Martin's going to see a lot of touches and some catches out of the backfield.
Talking with Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, a little fantasy football to get us ready for tonight's game and the action over the weekend. You mentioned Thomas Rawls, Jeff. That's an interesting guy to me. He spiked so much since Marshawn Lynch has gone down. He's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. Do you think this can keep up?
Well, he's got fresh legs, which is a big thing this time of year. A lot of guys are banged up, and they're not practicing on Wednesdays. Rawls he's barely used the first half of the season, so he's got that fresh legs. Again, the matchup isn't great, but I think the game script, everybody's going to be on Russell Wilson and Doug Martin this week. Doug Baldwin this week, but I think Thomas Rawls looks very good as a top 5 running back candidate this week.
Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. How about, and you've been mentioning a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I guess the reason why is because they're playing the New Orleans Saints. Those guys give up points and touchdowns every Sunday. So I guess it's pretty safe to insert any Tampa Bay Buccaneer skill position player, Jeff?
It's reasonably safe. I think Mike Evans is probably the top wide receiver there. We also like Jameis Winston, but I think there's plenty of other values with less downside risk than Winston. He's a top 10 quarterback candidate as well if you need to pick somebody up. But I think that all of Tampa Bay, the saving plays are Doug Martin and Jameis Winston.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Playoffs start this Sunday for you guys out there. Really tonight, with the game tonight, Arizona and Minnesota. How about the guys that you're putting out there, Jeff?
Well, I like a lot of the Kansas City guys. I think Travis Kelce at tight end, and I think that the Kansas City defense, San Diego has not been able to do anything. So San Diego is definitely a team to avoid. They nearly got shut out last week, and they're highly probable to be in that bucket again this week. And I think Odell Beckham is the number one wide receiver. He's got a great cornerback matchup against Miami on Monday night. And Alshon Jeffrey with Martellus Bennett going to IR, I think he's going to see a lot of targets against Washington. Oh,
and one more. The Steelers are playing the Bengals this week. I know Big Ben loves to play Cincinnati. Is it pretty much a must start if you have Big Ben or Martavis Bryant, D'Angelo Williams, Antonio Brown? Start all those guys?
I think so. Even though that the Bengals are much better than years past. I mean, they're putting up wins every week. But considering how well Pittsburgh is clicking on offense right now, I think you have to roll out Antonio Brown, Big Ben, Martavis Bryant, even D'Angelo Williams.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Check out that website for all these starts and sits this weekend, Week 14 in the NFL. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Enjoy the games.